Hello, welcome to another edition of Faith Boost Devotional. I done devotion since morning earlier today. But one thing led to another. I wasn't able to compost. But I'm sharing with you today's devotional. What I studied today was Matthew. I think it's Matthew 28. The Last Supper. The Last Supper. Jesus having his last meal on earth with his apostles before he went to, with the disciples before he went to the cross. Passover meal they usually have, and then he sent them. One of the things that really stood out for me was Jesus sent, I think, a couple of them to go to the city to get they will find a host, and scripture did not even mention the name of the host, but what got to me is Jesus gave them specific instructions. Say, when you get here, it's the same way like when he told them to go get him the coat that he rode into Jerusalem. He said, you go here, you untie it. So he sent them, and they went there. They found the guy. They followed instruction that Jesus gave them to the letter, and they followed the guy. And the guy showed them the upper room, and then they got the place ready. How did the guy, he said no, that the master needs the space, your space. And the Bible did not mention the name of, but the guy, the host, provided the space for Jesus to have his last meal with his apostles, disciples on earth before he went to the cross. And when you read that, I believe it's Matthew chapter 28. It's kind of, bittersweet, because, we know, but Jesus is going to rise and stuff like that. We know that he rose again. But now imagine now back as one of the disciples. And of course, they still didn't get it at this point. And the burden and the, Jesus was bearing like this death, gruesome death, staring him in the face. And he still just decided to gather together with his apostles, with his disciples, and still gather together with them. And then in between, he told them that one of them is going to betray him. They were sort of like offended. Now, because sometimes we read the scripture, just imagine, sit down, and it's the Last Supper, like they having Passover, but it wasn't an ordinary Passover. It was the Passover, the last meal. Jesus has had many meals for the last 3 years and 3.5 years. Jesus had Passover meal and different kinds of meal, and where they eat and where they fed other people, the crowd. And just this one time is the last time they're going to sit down with Jesus. It's like when someone you love is going away, maybe to mission or something, and it's going to be their last time before, maybe for a while before you meet them, you see them again. And Jesus, then on top of it, Jesus said, one of you going to betray me. One of you is going to betray me. And one by one, they started asking him, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? Is it me? Until he get to Judas Iscariot, who was going to betray him. And he asked, and Jesus said, you said it. So I asked the Lord, help me not to be the friend that betrays. Jesus said, to him later on? Not, you know, is it just a case you're going to use to betray? There's so many things, so many sobering, you know, moments that makes you think and evaluate your own life. I mean, my own life, my, you know, your relationship with God, with Jesus. You know, because Judas' betrayal was very obvious, but sometimes we betray God not in very obvious ways, but more like in subtle ways. So I have to examine myself. You have to examine yourself. What are we doing? What are we doing? What am I doing? What are we really in our relationship with Christ? Are we betraying him? And the whole situation, you know, the apostles, this what is some of the apostles, they say apostles, disciples, and the agony too that Jesus, you know, knowing so many things that he knew that the disciples, the apostles, they didn't even know, but Jesus know all these things. Who's going to betray him? Someone he's called friend, somebody he has been mentoring, somebody has been, you know, discipling for 3.5 years, you know, and all the same people that, you know, called him, you know, they held him, called him, you know, king, you know, Hosanna to the highest. Blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. You know, they all held him, and the same people are going to, and you know, it's not like he doesn't know. He was fully aware of what was coming, and it's getting closer, and it's getting closer, and it's getting closer. And then the crowd is one thing, but the intimacy, the people close to him, and what he was going to face. You know, there's a place in that chapter where when he was crucified, he said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, means, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now, he felt that much pain and abandonment that, you know, Jesus never lied. So he felt abandoned, but God was there. He himself is God, but his human part of him, because he's fully God and fully man, you know, felt that he has been abandoned. Of course, the Father cannot behold iniquity, right? But God was there. God was there. Sometimes we feel so alone that people that we trust betraying us, people that we labor over, you know, give us a slap on the face, not literally, sometimes literally. And just to buttress that, if Jesus felt that way, you know, ours is not necessarily going to be nailed on the cross, but we have to carry our cross. And many times it's not going to be palatable. It's not going to be all rosy. Even roses have thorn in them. So, but Jesus said, the things that I did, you also will do, and much more, because I've gone to the Father. So he supplies us strength for situations where we get ourselves. Sometimes people that we trust betray us. People that we love, like the brothers of Joseph, right? They sold him. They sold him. There's so many examples, and I'm sure you have some of those examples in your own life. I have some, but I'm praying, God, let me not be the one that betrays. Deliver me. Let me not be the one that betray those who have trusted me. I pray for me, I pray for you, that the Lord will help us to be like Jesus, to be like Jesus, to be like Jesus, like Joseph, to be like Stephen, to forgive those who betray us. Shalom.